Okay, we're continuing the Maimer Smeli Tachas Lerashi. The Alter Rebbe, in the opening of the Maimer, explained that the same idea that is being conveyed by the pasuk Smeli Tachas Lerashi V'Minit Chapkeni, which means that the smell, the left, the gvura, is what's tachas lerashi, it's what supports the pnimius of the gvura, is what's really supporting the reish. That the gvura, as much as it seems that it's tchia, that it's pushing away, but it's not. The kavana sadavar, the intent of that is that it should support you, it should lift you up. And as we said last time, that when someone's falling, so to hold him up, that he shouldn't fall, so it requires a tremendous amount of gvura. And the v'minita chapkeni is the outcome of the smell of the tchia. The outcome of this is really the chesed, of the yamin, which brings closer. And that's that message. That is really the idea of what we the first pasuk in the Parshas Ki Sisa Reish Bnei Yisrael Lifkudeim. That Alter Rebbe explained that Lifkudeim means the negative that we remembered in a negative way, because of the averis of the sins that we did. So the truth is, the kavana of that, the kavana intention of being remembered in that way, which is a gvura, that is the intention of that is sisa reish. That's there to lift up the reish, to lift up the head of Bnei Yisrael. So the same idea. Smele tachas lerashi, v'minit chapkeni, sisa reish Bnei Yisrael. How is this lifted up? Through the pkudim, through the. It's not chas v'shalom, a tchia, a pushing away completely, but the pushing away is part of the process of lifting up. And the Alter Rebbe said that to understand this in Avodas Hashem. So we started talking about the difference between Torah and Tefillah. The Torah, it says in the pasuk, Hakol Kol Yankiv. So the pasuk is talking about the voice of Yankiv. And the voice of Yankiv has two distinct voices. One is a voice, Yaakov refers to the Bnei Yisrael. And there's two distinct voices, the voice of Torah and the voice of Tefillah. But the first call, we said, the Alter Rebbe said, is referring to Tefillah. And that's why the kol is without a vav. And the second kol is referring to Torah. And that kol is with a vav. What's the difference if the kol has a vav or doesn't have a vav? So we said that the vav refers to hamshacha, bringing down the godliness from above below. So where do you see the hamshacha, bringing down a likus into the world? You see that mainly by Torah. By Tefillah, the idea of Tefillah is to go out, to what the Alter Rebbe says, milamata l'mayla, to go out of yourself, to go out of your body, to detach yourself from the gashmis. That's the idea of Tefillah. And the idea of Torah is to bring that into the world. Like it says, the whole idea of Torah is like you're calling Hashem. You're calling Hashem. It says the Torah is Shmeisav Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the name of Hashem. So when you're reading Torah, you're calling Hashem. It's like you're calling someone. You're calling Hashem to bring him down, bring godliness into the world. So the first call is without a vav. So it's a silent voice, so to speak. And that's the end of Tefillah. And the second call is with a vav. So the Alter Rebbe begins to to explain the mitzvah, the inyan of tefillah. What's the inyan of tefillah? That we daven. So the main idea, the main goal of tefillah is that a person should be mekayim, to fulfill the mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem, to love Hashem. In other words, just like every mitzvah, there's opportune times. Some mitzvahs are bound in certain times. The mitzvah of Ava is not bound only to davening; it's a mitzvah tmidis. But nevertheless, there are opportune times in which a person is more accessible and easier. Like it says, we read in davening, it says, "Vayashkem Avram ba'beker." Avram woke up in the morning. Vayashkem Avram ba'beker is the deeper idea that behind that is that the Avram, when is the midas ahava? When is that awake? When is that, or more easier accessible? It's in the morning. Vayashkem Avram ba'beker. So the same, and that's the whole idea in general of davening, is that it's a time in the morning when a person is able to access this Ahavas Hashem, the love of Hashem, and he's able to arouse it within himself through davening. So that's the whole idea of tefillah. So connection, tefillah means to connect, but what is that specifically? That's the inyan of Ahavas Hashem, to love Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe here gives us the formula. Through how do we arouse the love of Hashem? So that's what we started talking about last week. The idea of last year, that the idea of Ahavas Hashem, it's not enough to say I love Hashem. Ahavas Hashem requires a very deep perspective, a very deep understanding and insight into your surroundings, and in it you recognize and see the Eibishter. You see Hashem, in your surroundings and also in yourself. And when you have that awareness, so that brings about a tremendous feeling of connection. When someone says, "I love myself," right? So it's not the same when you love yourself as when you love someone else. You love someone else, it could be there's a reason for it or not a reason, but it's with an explanation. When you say I love myself, it's the love of yourself. What do we mean when we say it's that the person will do anything and everything in order to that he should be alive? So what's the expression of that love? When you say I love myself, the expression of that is that he constantly feels himself in a continuous way, that there's nothing that will stop, that prevents him from doing something to allow that to continue. So in other words, the idea, the word love is one of the most misused terms. It's thrown around. So we need to understand the context. We mentioned before that the Frierdiker Rebbe says, to understand the love of the Eibishter, so you have either you're a big Baal Madrega, because Chassidus in many places talks about different types of love. So either you're a big Baal Madrega, that you have different, that you actually have the experiences and you can articulate and define and express the different types of love, the different feelings, or you're a big Baal Taiva. So a big Baal Taiva, so you have what does it mean you're a big Baal Taiva? So you sense the pleasure. You're so connected with yourself in a way of ego and self-absorbed that you feel you feel yourself in such a way that it's you're so connected with yourself that that's how you're able to experience all these different types of love. In other words, either in a ruchnistic way, in a spiritual way, in a godly way, or in a negative way. So Hakopanim, the Alter Rebbe says that how does one go about bringing this love? So he starts off with a pasuk, Re'ei nasati fanecha sachayim v'satoiv v'sama v'sara u'bacharta b'chayim. So you have toiv and ra, and you have chayim and mavis. Toiv and chayim, and ra and mavis. What's the idea of chayim? Chayim is what is the chayis? What is the life force of, first of all, of the person, of yourself, and also of the world around you? What is the chayim? The chayim is the godliness, the chayis aliki, which gives it life. That's the chayim, and the maves is the gashmis hadavar, the physicality of that. So the chayim is something that is toiv. Toiv, it's good, it's real, and emes. And the gashmi is the physical, the physicality is maves, is death. Meaning to say it's not real. It's always decomposing. It's not true. There's no emes. It's not a real sense of life. It appears to be alive, but it's not really. It's not really. The existence is not in itself. As we see from the body and the soul, the chayim, what the chayim is the soul. When you say I'm alive, you're not feeling your body, you're feeling your soul. So the chayim is that which is the truth of what does it mean is alive, is the neshama, and the body is the mavis. That's not true. That's not truly alive. So the Alter Rebbe says that's in the individual and in the world in general. So when a person meditates and he thinks about it, and the Alter Rebbe emphasizes the word in the pasuk, re'ei, when a person sees it, but he sees it in a very explicit, real way. So in other words, it's not just something you say, but you actually look into it, you see it, and because it's so real and it's so true, so it's as if almost as if you see it mamash, right? The difference between hearing something and seeing something is seeing something is reality. Even though it's interesting, they say the lashon, seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. Believing means I believe means that it's something that I don't really know. I believe it to be true. Seeing is you see it to be true. It's absolutely true. I mean, it fits with what believing is in the sense what Chassidus explains, that even though you don't actually see it in the physical sense, but the emunah is so strong that it's as if you see it. Right? But al kopanim, so the idea of re'eh is to be able to see it in a real way, and that gives us and when one, what is he seeing? He's seeing that the chayim and the toiv. He's seeing the chayis. He's seeing his neshama in that way. And so the truth and the absolute existence of his neshama, its absolute existence of the Eibishter, and he feels that is his chayis. That's how he's alive. Everything else is not real. Is not true. Everything is. That's why it's called maves. So when a person uncovers that and is aware of that, so that brings about an ava. Like we said, just like the ava, you feel yourself. You feel yourself. When we say you love yourself, means you feel, and you feel you're connected with yourself in a way that everything you're doing and everything you would do in order to preserve that. So feeling the chayis, feeling the life, the Eibishter in that way means that you feel absolutely connected and bound with the Eibishter.
Result of that, when you get that point, you dancing or you video or
it depends. It expresses itself, and that manifests itself and expresses itself in many different ways. Right? But first you have that awareness. Obviously, it's the general idea. It's leading to. It's almost like when you're in a dark room. So you start you're stumbling. But when you turn on the light, what are you doing? Now you can navigate, depending on what you want to do. It's not if you wanted to get to a certain place in the room, so you get there. If you're looking for something, you'll find it. Right? It depends on what you want to do. But the idea is that the light goes on. The light goes on. The re'eh, you're seeing it. That's the light. The light gets turned on. So you see who you are. You feel who you are. You see who you are. You recognize who you are. So now the Alter Rebbe says, we're on page 4. Start from the first paragraph. And again, this is the method how a person we're trying to get to Vahafta, the love. There's no quick way to get to Vahafta. There's no express train. Right? This requires a true, deep meditation and depth of understanding and awareness. So that a person sees in a very real way. So he sees himself. He sees his chayes. Now I want to emphasize another point. There are different rungs on the ladder, different levels here of awareness. The first is to be aware that what's real is not the body, is not the physical. What's real is the spiritual chayes. Now, when we say spiritual, we mean different things. We mean spiritual that it's not physical, or when we say spiritual, we mean godly. It's different. When we say that the first level of a person thinks that the main thing in life is to eat and drink and enjoy themselves, so obviously their perspective, their vision, their awareness is in the body. The body, because who benefits from eating and drinking and enjoying oneself? Those type of enjoyments is the body. So he's being confined. He's imprisoned by the physical body, and that's drawing his awareness and his attention and his focus is completely there, in that place. So there's one level is just to get beyond that. When we say that the body is really, that's not real. That's mavis. What's real is the fact that you have a chayis, a nefesh, a neshama, that gives you chayis, that gives you life. And you don't need to be, for this, you don't require so much hisbanus, so much meditation. You don't have to go so deep. It's quite apparent. You could see someone who's not alive, and he looks the same as a person who's alive, but he's dead, right? So you can see that contrast. It's very real. But that gives us the insight and the awareness of something beyond the physical. Let's call it spiritual. Call it the chayis, energy. But that's not the re'eh that we're talking about here. Because over here we want to get to a point of godliness, of the Eibishter. So even within the nefesh, which we're talking about, the nefesh that is what's keeping everything alive in existence. In other words, when we're talking about the person or anything else that exists in the world, but beyond that, within that is a chayis aliki, a godly chayis. That godly chayis is the creating force. It creates everything from nothing to something. That's the re'eh that we want to be aware of, and that requires his bodyiness. That requires depth and to really focus. But once you see that, then it brings to a level of ahavtas Hashem leikacha b'chol levavcha. So he sees this chayis, he sees the ishtachava shel tzva shamayim. He sees the world. He sees that this is another way. There's two ways of actually seeing that. The Alter Rebbe says there's one approach is you see the chayis of your nefesh, that the body is completely bottled to the nefesh, and therefore you see that the kashmis is mavis, and through that's not the end of that. Through that you reach the point that the chayis aliki, or you could see it in the guf hagadol, the big body, the body of the world, where tzva shamayim l'cha mishtachvim, so it says in the pasuk v'ata mechayes kulam u'tzva shamayim l'cha mishtachvim. What's the connection? V'ata mechayes kulam is saying that the Eibishter gives chayes to everything, gives life to everything. What does that have to do with the fact that the hosts of the heaven bow down to Hashem? It's brought down in Chassidus. It's actually, the Chassidus brings it from Sifrei Tchuna, from astronomy, books of astronomy, the Rambam, that the truth is that the access of the way the planets and everything should move is from west to east. That's the way things should rotate. I'm not sure why, but it would help to know the reason why, because what we're aware of is that it spins the other way. It goes from east to west. Shechina b'marava, the Shechina is in the west, so it goes opposite the natural way it should go, because of the fact that it recognizes the va'ata mechayes kulam. That's the connection. Va'ata mechayes kulam. The Eibishter gives chayes to everything. Being that it recognizes it, meaning the heavenly spheres, the heavenly bodies, the celestial bodies, they recognize that the va'ata mechayes kulam. So then utzva shamayim. That's why it bows down. That's why it goes opposite its natural order of things, which should be from west to east, and it goes from east to west. So this is another point of reference to see. So this is a gashmistic phenomenon, a physical phenomenon that you can see to allow you to have this riyah chushis. Our objective is to have the re'eh, to be able to see it, to be able to see the Eibishter, to be able to see this godly force. So when you see that it's going the opposite of the way it should go, of the way it should go, the way it should spin. So that tells you that it's vashamayim l'chamish tachavim. That tells you the vata mechayes kulam. That the Eibishter is giving chayes. So all of that, when a person recognizes it, so where does it become apparent? It becomes apparent in the Chol Vavcha. The Vahafta is recognizing the Re'eh, and then B'Chol Vavcha becomes B'Shnei Yitzirecha. What is the Shnei Yitzirecha? Safi lo Yitzhahara, hu nichna lo batal neged avos Hashem. That even the Yitzhahara surrenders to this love, to this awareness. So this is the Batal Ritzoncha. Who is Batal Ritzoncha? This is referring to the Nefesh, to the Yitzhahara. The Nefesh Shalikis, the godly soul, obviously does what Hashem wants. So Batal Ritzoncha, the Nefesh Shabahamis, and the Yitzhahara, so has a level of, it feels this bittul to the Hashem. Where is this coming from? It's coming from not through force. That you're telling yourself don't do something. That's not the true bittul. That telling yourself not to do something is Kabbalah so is actually the beginning of the journey. But the true batal ritzoncha, to surrender, is coming from this awareness of the re'eh, of the ava. Pirush lafisha ava zuaba machmas riyachushis kazu ein arechileh v'lo nimtza dugmas aklal binyanim gashmim. So this ava that he has is so he feels the Eibishter in such a way that it's beyond anything, any gashmis, even ruchnius. So because of that, he completely surrenders himself to Hashem. Miyid melach u'miyishvelach u'miyarach lach. U'bechinas riyazu tzarich liyes nitzchis u'tmidis. So here the Alter Rebbe once we established, and we established this level, this awareness that a person has to have of the Re'eh. He recognizes the Eibishter and he's aware of that. That's the truth, and that's Chaim and Teiv. So that has to be continuous. It means it's not enough to have that only by davening, because if you only have it by davening, then after davening he's going to be in trouble. He's not going to be able to have. He's not going to be able to have the ability to overcome all the different challenges that he has. So he has to be something continuous after davening, and that's what the Alter Rebbe says here. And someone who's not continuously looking and gazing at that and perceiving that, so love nemer vaksil b'choshech. So regarding that, it says that a fool is in darkness. He's in darkness because he's not recognizing he's being the darkness is coming from not being able to see beyond the facade, not being able to see beyond the physicality of things. So what does it mean? A chacham ein b'reisha. A chacham sees the truth. The Rashi he sees the godly chayis, which is giving life to everything in the world. That's something that's continuous, that he's aware of. So when a person is constantly aware of that, so constantly has within him this ava, this love to the Eibishter, the Alter Rebbe this explains another interesting idea. It says, in other words, we talked about two things. We talked about the ava, this love, and the second thing we talk about is the fact that this love he's continuously connected with it. This awareness is continuously connected with it. So the li'umazeh of that, the opposite of that, is what? Is a person who's completely entrenched and sunk into to Olam Hazeh, to the physical world. He's constantly looking and seeking his own pleasure. So in the spheres, when we talk about the spheres, so we know that the sphere of Yesod, we say it in Pasach Aliyah, the sphere of Yesod is connected with the bris. Yesod means bonding. To connect, the connection, just like the Alter Rebbe in Tanya brings a mashal of Yesod when a teacher and a student. So it's one thing to have the information and to be able to articulate it to the Talmud, to the student, but that's not enough to be able to. You want to share the idea. It's not enough just to be able to share it. You have to want to connect. This wanting to connect to the student. The teacher has to want to connect to the student, and that through that it gives he engages in the hashpah. He engages in what he's sharing with the Talmud. So the idea of Yesod is bonding, connecting. So there can be an idea which is abstract, but to connect it, that it should be real, that it should be alive, you have to connect with it, you have to bond with it. So you have the idea of bris, the connection to procreate. So there's the bonding in a physical sense. And that's the yesod, the bonding, and that's how it manifests itself in a gashmistic way. But then you have the way it is in a physical sense, in a spiritual sense. So the same is true when you say the B'gama bris. When you say he mistreats, or right, he mistreats the idea of this desire, this ability to bond. He mistreats that in a negative sense. Yeah. So that can be in the physical sense, that in relationships and in a way of bonding in it's an inappropriate way, or it can be in a ruchnistic sense where he's bonding with the gashmis, with the physical world. So it's depending on the scope of what we're talking about. Over here, the Alter Rebbe is talking about the idea of the bris in a more of a ruchnistic sense, that he's bonding with the physical world. He's bonding with gashmis. So that's the negative side. The zelu umazeh. But what is that in the positive way? The positive way is this ava that we're talking about before. The connection that it takes place when one davens to arouse this love, and not only by davening, but this spills over to the whole day, to connect and to connect in a way that is he's completely connecting with the ruchnius, with the godliness of everything. So that's what it says in the Zohar, that chela the tiyufta yatir v'todir, that what is the tikkun when someone is misuses or is inappropriate in this idea of bonding, as we described, whether it's bonding, the idea of bonding in a physical sense, which is in a sexual sense, or the idea of bonding in a more broader sense with Gashmias. So the way the Zohar says, how does he fix that? He fixes that through tshuva, this connection, this ava that we talked about, that to entrench that ava, but not as a one-time thing, not something that happens and then is a fleeting moment, but something that is continuously there throughout the whole day. And that's what it says, yatir v'todir. Yatir means it comes from a very deep place. The tshuva, he's coming from a deep place, this deep awareness and connection that he has with the Eibishter, coming from the deepest part of his soul, and as a result of that, it's tadir, it's continuous. Let's see in the words of the Alter Rebbe. Ki bris hu inyan iskashus. The bris, this idea of bris is bonding, is connection. Ubikdusha hu inyan iskashus nafshe b'shosha v'chayusei. In Kedusha, what is this bonding? This is the connection that the Nefesh has with its source, its chayis, with Hashem. Ubehepech zelu mazeh, and in the ulumazeh, in the opposite side, in the klippus, who is kashus b'tay v'selim v'tanugis b'nei adam. This is the connection with desires and pleasures of the world. V'lechein, so a person who's poigim b'bris, a person who breaks that connection with the source of his neshama, he breaks that connection, and he bonds himself with Gashmis, with the physical world. So what is the tikkun? The tikkun is lahapich libei mehipuch lehipuch, to transform from one extreme to the other. L'davka nafshe b'sharshe v'chayusei hanimshach mimeni yizbarach, to connect, as we said before. This is the ava. Shehu kel chai v'kayim, that kel chai v'kayim, every sphera has a different name of the Eibishter associated with that sphera. The sphera Sayisod is kel chai v'kayim. Kel chai v'kayim means it's the Eibishter that gives life and existence continuously. B'chinas bris ha-mekasher mamshech ha-chayis. B'chinas sevu kalam aliyis imale kalamin. And that's the chayis that the Eibishter gives the world from seviv kalamin to memale kalamin, as the emes ha-chayis of the world comes from seviv kalamin. But to it's just like the mashal we said before of a teacher and a student. So that the teacher, in order to impart, he has to bond with the student. So this is the bonding, that to be mamshech the chayis from seviv to memale, lahachis nefesh kol chay v'ruach kol b'sarish shetiyeh dveikus amiti utmidi, that it should be continuous, and this connection should be true and continuous. V'zeu yatir v'tadir. That's the Zohar uses the words yatir v'tadir. This is the yatir v'tadir. This is the yatir v'tadir that fixes that break, the break in the bond. So he fixes it through this ava that we said, that and through that and that it becomes continuous. And that's what the Alter Rebbe ends off here. It's not that he arouses the love by davening and then it dissipates, it goes away. But it has to be it has to be an emes. What's emes? So the Alter Rebbe defines what's emes. Usvas emes tikun la'ad. Emes is something that's continuous. So therefore, where is this love, this connection, this bonding has to be continuous. Ksiv masha'ekin va'ad argia. Something which is only temporary is sheker, is false. So this bonding that a person has to, this is what the Zohar means, how to fix that break that has to do with digging deeper, the yatir, that's digging deeper within the nefesh, and then that brings about the tadir that it continues. And all of this is part of the this is the davening experience that we're okay.